Islam. Late start today, but it's all good because even though we're late, we're always on time. Islam to all the Moors worldwide. Peace, love, and hotep. This is Canaanland Moors class. Today, we're going to be dealing with the attempted subversion of the Moorish divine and national movement. The attempted. They were probably about this close. They were probably about this close. But then something happened that stopped them. We want to give supreme honors to the Prophet, the greatest Moorish American to ever walk the face of the earth. Because if it wasn't for Noble Drew Ali, the majority of us would still be Negro, black, colored, and everything else that we thought was our identity. We want to give honors and praises to Allah for sending us a prophet, to get us back into the constitutional fold of government. Because once again, if it wasn't for Noble Drew Ali, we would probably still be classified completely as these fictions that many of our people have adopted as their true identity. We also want to acknowledge and recognize all the Moors that have and are standing up for their nationality and their birthrights. We have many Moors coming into the movement right now, from all over the world. Moors are waking up. And it's a beautiful thing to know that we're involved in something that is completely changing politics all around the world, right? We're not just involved in something that is affecting the jurisdiction of politics in North America. We are inspiring people all over the world right now. We are inspiring people to do things that they maybe never even thought that they would have the courage to do. But because of Moors, because of active Moors, because of Moorish Americans, whether they call themselves M-U-U-R or M-O-O-R, we're all the same people. It's the same dark skin, nappy hair, big nose, big lip people that are causing this change. More called me this morning. You know what I mean? That, everybody, Europeans, coming into this information. So we wanna, give our thanks and appreciation to all the active Moors who are constantly doing something to get this word out to the people. And we want to give thanks to all the Moors after the Prophet passed that held steadfast in this and continued to carry on the legacy, continued to put the information out so that we can have access, to this illustrious history that we never knew about. We are going to start, as usual, with the letters to be read every meeting that these fakers didn't read because, they were attempting to subvert the Moorish movement. They were attempting to, right? Plan didn't work. They thought that they did it. They thought they did it, but they're very mistaken. Because as we know, Moors are here looking at this movement from the right perspective. They're not looking at this as some religious stuff, even though it is that, you know what I mean? And, people who don't study, people who are passive Moors, you can still play the religion, whatever, and get through, right? So Noble Drew Ali set everybody up so that they can have their birthright. He didn't exclude anybody, even passive Moors who don't want to study, have law dictionaries and all that. They don't want to go to the library. They don't want to support active Moors who are doing the work by going on their website, buying all their stuff, right? Even though Moors aren't going to support on that level, Noble Drew Ali still made a place for them so that they can be passive Moors and hide in the corner with a fez on or whatever like that and still be able to, be free, not be tormented by these colonists, inquisitionists, conquistador mercenaries and their agents. The proper perspective of this is civic in nature. The proper perspective of what Noble Drew Ali brought is constitutional in nature. Anybody you hear talking about Moorish Science Temple of America is some religious idea, and they're ahead of this, know that those guys are a fraud, and they're trying to be your slave master. Because this is not religion. This is not that low chakra demonstration of religion. This is pineal gland and crown chakra activation. This is not below heart chakra. This is above heart chakra. So anybody who's out there that you hear them talking about Moors and Moorish and all that, and they're talking about this from some religious perspective, or telling you you don't got to study stuff outside of what Noble Drew Ali brought and all that, know that those guys are a fraud and they're probably about to game you, right? To be proclaimed every meeting, which wasn't proclaimed. So we put it out there. Islam. I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people on our side of the nation that claim it was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme they can. They're working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they themselves may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the last few years. That's Noble Drew Ali. That was supposed to be read every meeting that Moors, who are heads of the Moorish Divine and National Movement, chose not to read. Chose not to read this. They were told this in 1928, 29, 13, whatever, anytime before 1930. They were told this. And they chose not to tell the people. Why? Why they choose not to put this out? As we know, 100 years later, we find out how many dirty Moors been around here. And it's still around right now. Still have Moorish science temples out there. Still doing classes. Still having holy day meetings. Still telling people it's okay, you know what I mean? You can, not be active. Don't get law dictionaries. Don't listen to Moors who blah, blah, blah. Right? I want to put one quote on the record just so we can really get a perspective, you know what I mean, of how dirty these people are. But before we do that, oh yeah, let me get something. I forgot something. Apologies. Let's just put something on the record. This was brought to my attention today by a European son who backs this, who backs the Moorish movement harder than some of these dirty punks that say that they, they're part of this and they rep Noble Drew Ali, whatever like that. Frauds. Now, I'm letting you know as a head that anybody else that claims to be a head in the Moorish Divine and National Movement know that they are a judicial officer because they are empowered to make law and enforce law. Right? Just like a judge is empowered to make law and enforce law, it's the same thing with the Moorish Divine and National Movement. So we just want to put some things out there so that you can have a gauge to know when you're being violated and when stuff is running properly or whatever, right? So this is from the Judicial Conduct Commission of Frankfort, Kentucky. So this just applies to Kentucky, but there's things in here that apply across the board. So you just look for Judicial Conduct Commission, whatever jurisdiction that you're in, and see what the rules are. Yeah, for the foreigners, but more so for the real authority of law in North America, which are these grand sheiks, grand governors, grand whatever else that they call themselves. Types of judicial misconduct. Types of judicial misconduct. The following types of judicial misconduct may lead to disciplinary actions. This list is not all-inclusive. This list is all-inclusive. We're making it all-inclusive because, as Moors, we're the law. Nobody can't tell us stuff's not the law. Nobody can't put anything and say, well, Moors said that, that's not real. As soon as Moors say it, it's real, right? So improper influence. allowing family, social, or political relationships to influence judicial decision-making, conflicts of interest, giving or receiving gifts, bribes, loans, or favors, improper courtroom decorum, improper conduct while on the bench, expressions of bias based on race, gender, or ethnicity, rude, abusive, and otherwise improper treatment of parties, counsel, witnesses, jurors, court staff, and others, improper or illegal activities on or off the bench, failing or refusing to dispose promptly of judicial business, abusing the contempt power, interfering with the attorney-client relationship, communicating improperly with only one side to a proceeding, commenting on or interfering with a pending or impending case, engaging in improper political campaign activities, misappropriating, this is key, misappropriating or misusing public property, funds, or resources. That's like gigantic judicial misconduct when it comes to the Moorish movement. Violating rules relating to court administration, obstruction of justice, perjury, or filing a false document, criminal conduct. So keep in mind, improper or illegal, we'll say unlawful, improper or unlawful activities on or off the bench. The biggest thing right here is misappropriating or misusing public property or Moorish property, Moorish funds, or Moorish resources. That's the biggest issue that we have in the Moorish movement, because people have been gamed into thinking that the heads of the Moorish Divine and National Movement of the world are the heads. No. The heads of the Moorish Divine and National Movement are you people out there. You're the heads of the Moorish movement. You're the ones that give the orders. You're the ones that's supposed to make sure and put on the record how stuff's supposed to run. And if it's not being run like that, you're supposed to get those people out the way and put somebody there who's qualified to do what you tell them to do. No different than we do with when we were Negro, black, colored, go vote and all that stuff, because this guy's crackhead, so we want to get him out of office. So we're going to vote somebody else in, you know what I mean, and start demanding that they do what their job is or whatever. So there was a post of a screenshot that was brought to my attention. And this is somebody who's a Moor. Now also too, keep in mind, when you see this symbol right here, when you see that, know that those Moors aren't really repping what they should be repping. That symbol right there. As soon as you see that on Facebook pages and YouTube pages and whatever like that, know that those Moors are swindlers. And this is how all of them talk. This fake law crap is why trouble is following you and those like you. The Prophet never, and I mean never, taught that stupidity. Right? So the Prophet never taught law according to these Moors. Right? Keep in mind, the Grand Sheikh, Chairman, Assistant Grand Sheikh are empowered to make law and enforce law. But Noble Drew Ali never taught law. He never taught that stupidity, the law crap, right? Learn the Prophet's teachings. Isn't divine constitution and bylaws the Prophet's teachings? And you and those like you wouldn't be in the position that you are in. The Prophet said, and I quote, "Stay out of the European courts, yet you and those like you run to them every chance you get, filing fake pseudo-law paperwork and then get locked up. Maybe if you listen to the Prophet instead of those who were kicked out of the MSTA, like Charles Mosley Bay, and those that follow his cast-out teachings, like Taj Tariq Bey and RV Bey and the rest of those devils, then you would have never been in that situation, blah, blah, blah. Now, let's look at it from this perspective. If this guy could rep Noble Drew Ali and the Moorish Divine Movement, based on his stance right here, everybody knows who he is, right? Don't forget he has the 5-point star ring. If he can rep it, remember, Afeni Shakur going to court and beating up 100 and whatever charges with no lawyer. Wow, how's she doing that? You think she's just doing that because she felt like it? No, she was studying law. She was studying Noble Drew Ali, the Prophet, all that stuff, nationality and birthrights, every day, all day. It's the order of the day. This is enough of you people's out there's favorite rapper guy, top 10 rapper guy, top 5 some of you people. And he's on this. So if he's on this, you know, you're going to play his song, Dear Mama, and all that stuff every day, all day, but you're not going to say that you're Moors. You're not going to proclaim your nationality, which means that you dishonor him. If he's going to stand up for the high 5 principles, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, then there's no reason why anybody who listens to his stuff shouldn't be on this, if he's going to be on this. Right? And he has the stone face, so you know that it's real. You're not playing around with this. Right? This is real. And then keep in mind that this is Carl Kanai, which is like 90s or whatever like that. 90s. So he's been on this. This is a secret picture somebody pulled out. And it happened to make it on Facebook. You weren't Kanai in this. Kanai is not no new clothing. Kanai is not no new clothing. So he's been on this info. Right? He's been on this info. And then you have these idiots telling people about, you know, cast out Moors like Taj Tariq Bey and RV Bey or whatever like that. Madness. All they're trying to do is get the people back off of what they're on by talking crap, by bringing up stuff like jail and getting locked up and things like that, when that has nothing to do with anything. Matter of fact, just this weekend, Brother Amari, condolences to Brother Amari, he had a, you know, death in the family or whatever like that, so he had to go travel, right? And in his travels, with a passport, mind you, with a passport, in his travels, he's getting talked to by the so-called border whoever people, and they're telling him that they know about the Moorish Science Temple, and they know that he's in it. They know that he's in it. He has a passport. They're telling him that they know that he's in the Moorish Science Temple of America. You think they don't know what's up? Yeah, and he got back too, and he wasn't stopped or nothing like that. The red carpet treatment, no search and stuff like that like last time, you know, because he paid his dues, right? He paid his dues, went through the stuff, came back, and, you know what I mean, putting it out there that, yo, Cujo, we need to go harder at these Negro, black, colored people because they know what's up. Not only do they know what's up, but they want us to let people know what's up. They want us to let people know what's up. This border people recognizing what this is. But then you have these fakers out here trying to convince you that Taj is dirty, RV Bey is dirty, Cujo's dirty, CM Bay is dirty, nature's dirty, don't listen to them, they're not teaching whatever they're teaching, they're going to get you locked up or whatever like that. When half those people don't even know how to live within contracts, they got licenses and all that stuff with their so-called straw name on it, right? And I'm saying their straw name because they really are straw. If they're gonna say that they're Moorish, whatever, and then you're gonna say, "Let me see your wallet," and you're gonna pull out their wallet, and they got all these cards in their wallet with no all rights reserved on it, and everything in there has a European name on it. They're straw, willingly straw, and they're agents for the so-called corporate state. How we know that? Because they reserve their rights, which means they're getting handouts. Because that's the only way that they would be able to get their check without reserving their rights. The only way. The only way that they would be able to get their handout is if they do not reserve the rights on the contracts. That's why we don't do grants and whatever else. Right? We don't do it. We don't take handouts. We make claims. But as soon as you take handout, the hand that gives controls. And once the hand that gives has control, trust me, they're going to use you. Guaranteed. It's a fact. Trust me. I know people who took grant money. Millions. And trust me, well, as soon as you take the handout, now they own you. And they own you that you can't even get anything back. That's why we tell Moors, don't be talking about you're gonna go file UCC, PPSA, and all those type of stuff, and then claim straw, and then try to get some benefits off of this bottomless account that they have attached to a birth certificate and all that, because the hand that gives control. And you hear Moors more than anybody else talking about, yeah, you got to separate yourself from the straw man because, there's whatever. When nature already told y'all, get your paperwork, go file your paperwork somewhere to separate yourself from the straw. Go tell everybody who you have a contract with that you've now proclaimed their nationality. It's right here, Article 15, Article 6, Article 3 of the Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People, rights of human beings, rights of the child, that all these so-called corporate jurisdictions agree to, and demand that they change the stuff. And then when you start the lowest level and you move yourself up, you start with your little bills that you got, and then you move yourself up. Because certain people, they just want their fiat. They don't care what name you have on whatever. Any name. They don't care. They just want their fiat. So be mindful of people who claim to have judicial authority in the Moorish movement. And then when you start exercising beyond what they've taught you, they try to silence you, or they try to make you feel guilty for studying outside of where they taught you. When, like Sila Bay said, the teacher is supposed to be a student too. Teacher's not just supposed to be up at the top of the stuff, this is what I say and you're supposed to do whatever. The teacher is supposed to be a student. For when the student becomes the teacher, to teach the teacher. Because all teachers are students, if they're real teachers. All this stuff we're putting out that you see Kudrow putting out, half stuff is not, it's not stuff that I'm out there researching or whatever. There's people who put me onto that. It's not, you know what I mean, up till 3 in the morning or whatever like that, studying. I need to get my 7 hours or whatever. I don't do good with only 4 hours, 5 hours or whatever. I need my 7 hours. And trust me, I'm getting my 7 hours before some studying is going on. Because I don't like burning eyes all day. Right? I ain't dealing with burning eyes all day. Yeah. Another thing more put me on. White people don't exist, says author Walter Mosley. We're not going to read that because we got stuff to do. It's 8 o'clock and, you know, we're jumping from this right into blog talk, right? Because of the late start. So we're not, but just Google that. White people don't exist, says author Walter Mosley. Waltermosley. And don't forget, Charles Bay was a Mosley. Just so you can put these things together, right? So you can understand what's going on. And then don't forget, we always got to plug the fam, right? Who are the Moors, Asiatics, Americans? Are you in denial of your ancestry? Part 2. Brother Mizraim, who's going to be on the show later, Blog Talk, right? Make sure you get the book. Don't front. Don't pretend like, you know, can't afford it and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Go support the Moors who are doing so. So let's get to the highlights. The highlights of today. Our first stop is going to be our King Alfred plan. Just to put some stuff out. You know, a lot of new people coming in. You know what I mean? Might not have heard certain things. Just want to make sure that certain things are heard. So we're clear. Only when we're clear would we get out of this madness. Because incompetence doesn't fly. You better be competent. If you're not competent, don't do it. If you don't know, don't talk. Shut your mouth. Just like all these people out here. You know what I mean? You even have people like, you have even humble people like Rami Salam El having to slap people with facts because people don't want to shut their mouth when they don't know. They want to pretend like, oh yeah, you know what I mean? Because you got Amun on your name or whatever like that, that you know something. If you have a nationality, you're stateless, you're dumb, and you don't know anything. Shut the hell up. Let Moors talk. Don't talk if you don't have a nationality. Stop talking. If you don't have a nationality, shut the hell up. If you have a nationality and you're not studying, shut the hell up. Let active Moors do the talking, because half the people who are pretending to be Moors, fence riding with this, they don't study. And these are the same ones, right? These are the same ones, right? All these guys are some more guys, you know what I mean? People who are, you know, you want to have silver, but you can't spend it because you're not going to get change in silver, but they just got silver all over the place, right? Think that they're doing something for the nation. Think that they're doing something when you're doing nothing but distracting people from studying. Be wary, very wary. All these fake nation Moors, fake flag Moors, you know, create stuff, tell people that, oh yeah, that's what it is, just because they know that people are stupid and they'll fall for anything. Be wary of all these people. Because you don't want to be, like we said, the border people knew he was a member of the Moorish Science Temple. Not some Moorish whatever. They have a certain mind frame with regard to who's who and what's what. And they know very well who's who and what's what. Very well. Like we say, ask the Moors who got visited by the suits. There's Moors who get visited by suits all the time, knocking their door, coming to their house, right? Pulling them over, stopping them when they go here, stopping them when they go there, pull them in a room, asking them questions. That happens to ample amounts of Moors. Suits. Not the uniform guys, the suit guys. Men in black. The little thing, you know what I mean? Push the button, you forget stuff and all that. You know, but they can't do that with Moors that study. Because Moors that study have blinders on. Moors that study have the they live sunglasses. Where we see stuff. We're not confused. And everybody who is coming into this better be a student of studying. You better love to study. If you don't like to study, then you're going to have problems. Guaranteed. Because this is about knowing thyself. This isn't about being told what yourself is. This is about knowing thyself. And the only way that you're going to know thyself is if you study. The only way that you're going to know thyself is if you humble, chill. Now because you came into this, you put down your card once and got taxes off means that, you know what I mean, you're at it. Because trust me, that person was in it why they even did the stuff. Because people who know better, they'll challenge you on it just to see if you're really real. Those are the ones that you want to be bumping into. The people who are going to challenge you. You don't want the easy people. You don't want the guy who's going to pull you over and then you just show your stuff. I'm a Moor. And they're like, oh, you're a Moor. Here's your stuff. Have a nice day. You want the challengers. Because without a foe, a soldier never knows his strength. And if you have no foes, then you have no strength. Real simple. Real simple. Right? There was a question. We just kind of try to tie all of this together based on the timeline. Right? Question came in. Can the truth AA 222141 be utilized by missionaries for the prophet if you are not a member of the MSTA? First thing that you're going to do is you're going to go look up missionary in a law dictionary and get your mind blown as to what a missionary is. So you can stop calling yourself a missionary of Moorish Science Temple and call yourself emissary or call yourself sheik or sheikess or something like that. Because as soon as you start talking about missionary, you're working for Rome. Second, AA 222141. United States Code, Chapter 22, or Title 22, Chapter 2, Section 141. Title 22, Chapter 2, Section 141, which has been supposedly repealed in 1956. August 1956, that was repealed. Now, what CMB did with these those filings was give us a reference point of civic study, right? The idea, because remember, it's just like if we say 0000230098. We just say those numbers, a student is going to go check what that is. Just like if somebody says HJR blank 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 blank, a student is going to go study to go find out what the hell is blank 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 blank. You're not just going to accept blank 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 as blank 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 blank. It's obviously something. So by them telling people that CMB got kicked out the temple because he was teaching stuff contrary to Noble Drew Ali or whatever like that, is trying to get people away from civics. Now, the depth of those filings that CMB used, it's not the filing, it's not the 222141. It's to get you to go back to see what that is. And then when you go research Title 22, Section or Chapter 2, Section 141, you realize the depth of what Noble Drew Ali did. And you realize how these people are trying to attempt to subvert the Moorish divine and national movement on all fronts. Because the fact that they repealed that in 1956 and Morocco got their independence from France in 1956 to be a kingdom again or whatever like that should let you know why that was repealed by Eisenhower. Should let you know why they did it. And everything is about getting the Moors to not be Moors. Everything is about subverting what Noble Drew Ali did. Because what he did was monumental. What he did was so profound that he told Moors, it's going to take you 50 years to find out what I did. And then 50 years is going to pass and you wouldn't even know that I was around here. Right? Now, remember, we're talking about 222141, right? 56. Okay? Keep those dates in mind. All right? Memo, National Security Council. Even before 1954, when the Supreme Court of the United States of America declared unconstitutional separate educational and recreational facilities, racial unrest and discord had become very nearly a part of the American way of life. But that way of life was repugnant to most Americans. Since 1954, however, that unrest and discourse have broken out into widespread violence, which increasingly have placed the peace and stability of the nation in dire jeopardy. This violence has resulted in loss of life, limb, and property, and has cost the taxpayers of this nation billions of dollars. And the end is not yet in sight. This same violence has raised the tremendous grave question as to whether the races can ever live in peace with each other. Remember, the races are only two: Europeans, Asiatics, since the beginning of these hybrids being created, coming out of the cave, intercepting or involving themselves in affairs with Asiatics, and then trying to take out Asiatics any chance that they get. And if they can't take them out, breed them out. Now if they can't breed them out, try take them out. And if they can't take them out, try take their mind away. And if they can't take their mind away, take all their culture away. And if they can't take their culture away, try to build a machine so they can block out the sun so that, you know, they can't even get any energy from the universe anymore. And if that doesn't work, here we are in this limbo, in this retro, where everything starts coming out. Jordans from 10 years ago coming back out again. Hirachis from 20 years ago coming out again. Music, same, coming out again. Pop music coming back out again, right? House music coming back out again. All these things, all this repetition of repetitious stuff going on, because they're stuck right now. Like we're talking about another class. We haven't created anything new, and they don't have the capacity to create anything new, so all they can do is retro stuff. And if things do come out that's new, more than likely it's created by somebody who is Asiatic, but they have a European name, so Europeans taking jurisdiction, give them an award or whatever like that, give them a star on the ground in order to claim that they really did it, because name denotes possession. So the races, right, is 2. Each passing month has brought new intelligence that despite new laws passed to alleviate the condition of the minority is still not satisfied. Demonstration and rioting have become a part of the familiar scene. Troops have been called out in the city after city across the land, and our image as a world leader is severely damaged. Been damaged. Before the minority was doing nothing, their reputation has been damaged. Our enemies press closer, seeking the advantage, possibly at a time during one of these outbreaks of violence. The minority has adopted an almost military posture to gain its objectives, which are not clear to most Americans. It is expected, therefore, that when these objectives are denied the minority, racial war must be considered inevitable. When that emergency comes, we must expect the total involvement of all 22 million members of the minority, men, women, and children, for once this project is launched, its goal is to terminate once and for all the minority threat to the whole of American society and indeed the free world. In case of emergency, minority members will be evacuated from the cities by federalized National Guard units, local and state police, and if necessary, by units of the regular armed forces, using public and military transportation, and detained in nearby military installations until a further course of action has been decided. Combined Memo, Department of Justice, FBI, CIA. There are 12 major minority organizations, and all are familiar to the 22 million. Dossiers have been compiled on the leaders of the organizations and can be studied in Washington. The material contained in many of the dossiers and our threat to reveal that material has considerably held in check the activity of some of the leaders. Leaders who do not have such usable material in their dossiers have been approached to take government posts, mostly as ambassadors and primarily in African countries. The promise of these positions also has materially contributed to a temporary slowdown of minority activities. However, we do not expect these slowdowns to be of long duration, because there are always new and dissident elements joining these organizations with the potential power to replace the old leaders. All organizations and their leaders are under constant 24-hour surveillance. The organizations are the Black Muslims, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, Congress of Racial Equality, Uru Movement, Group on Advanced Leadership, Freedom Now Party, United Black Nationalists of America, the New Pan-African Movement, the National Urban League, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, Committee on Racial and Religious Progress. Note, at the appropriate time to be designated by the President, the leaders of some of these organizations are to be detained only when it is clear that they cannot prevent the emergency. Working with local public officials during the first critical hours, all other leaders are to be detained at once. Compiled lists of minority leaders have been readied at the National Data Computer Center. It is necessary to use the minority leaders designated by the President in much the same manner in which we use minority members who are agents with Central and Federal, and we cannot, until there is no alternative, reveal King Alfred in all its aspects. Minority members of Congress will be unseated at once. This move is not without precedent in American history. This memo is being submitted in lieu of a full report from the Joint Chiefs of Staff. That report is now in preparation. There will be many cities where the minority will be able to put into the street a superior number of people with a desperate and dangerous will. He will be a formidable enemy, for he is bound to the continent by heritage and knows that political asylum will not be available to him in other countries. The greatest concentration of the minority is in the Deep South, the Eastern Seaboard, the Great Lakes region, and the West Coast. So it's clear that the so-called central, federal, whatever, has had these minority organizations and their leaders under 24-hour surveillance since at least 1954. And we know now that part of the infiltration of the so-called minority leaders had included the Moorish Divine and National Movement, specifically the Moorish Science Temple of America. But as we recognize, right? As we recognize clearly, as we recognize the Moorish Science Temple of America was not mentioned as one of the infiltrated organizations. And the reason why it wasn't mentioned is because if they did mention it, that would give people an indication of its existence, because it was supposed to be dissolved by these dirty bastards like the ones that are on Ustream right now, coming onto the chat or whatever, talking crap in the chat, that people have no brains and all that type of stuff, when the reality of the situation is that person's probably stateless nigger trying to attempt to cause subversion, as usual. Dirty Moors always slide in and then talk crap, but it's falling on deaf ears because we have a nationality and birthright, and we have a prophet, and we recognize immediately when dirty Moors are around, one, because they smell, and two, because Moors who are active are not the breed of Moors that you people have been regularly dealing with, that just shut their mouth when you guys come around with your crap. Moors that are active slap dirty Moors hard with facts. So we're going to put some facts on the table that came out of the FBI papers so we can just show that there isn't a dirty Moor that's around today that can try to claim or hold these people's birthright and pretend like they got authority over it, right? Just like the person asking the question. What exactly did CMB do by sending documents to the Library of Congress? He took it out of the jurisdiction of these dirty bastards. That's what he did by putting it in the Library of Congress. So you can go study, because that's supposed to be where you go study, the Library of Congress. Because Moors are supposed to be constitutional and civic minded. And that's why he put the stuff in the Library of Congress. Why? To keep it out of the hands of the dirty bastards who still went to the Library of Congress and took CMB's stuff and moved it while it was in the Library of Congress so you don't have access to it. And these people are still around today. And you want to know how come this and how come that about Moors? Because you passive Moors, you unconscious Moors, are continuing to play this game of be friends with traitors. Continue to play this game of, out of unity, we're gonna whatever, and the unity amongst people and whatever like that. No nation on the planet shows unity toward traitors. Treason is punishable by life in prison or death. That's the punishment for treason. All these individuals who call themselves grand whatever, that has had this information since 1913 or whatever till 2015. If they haven't done anything with this, they're high treasonous and should have been stoned to death a long time ago. And the real active Moors who we already know, we don't even have to name them. The real active Moors should have been put into the seats of power of this Moorish movement so it could go somewhere, because this is civic, not religious. This is constitutional, not religious. But everybody wants to be friends with dirty Moors. Everybody wants to be friends with corrupt so-called corporate officials pretending to be de jure government officials. Everybody wants to look at all Europeans across the board as the devil, when there's Europeans who are doing more to wake up people out here, including Asiatics, than Moors who've been had this information for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years. Moors have died with information that people were supposed to have. Died. Information that you're not even going to get no more. Can't even get. Information that's supposed to free you. Won't be able to get. Why? Because they died with it. And we're sitting here bickering about why should sisters wear fezzes or not, and stupid shit like that. When this is birthrights. Why is he wearing a green fez? Cause this is birthright. You can wear a green fez if he wants to. And you can put the diamond on it, jewel on it, feather on it. That's not marking the fez. Marking the fez is masonry. Marking the fez is the pattern of Masonic stuff on the fez. Stitching. Just go check the Masons. Find out how much it is to put Alhambra on a fez. Find out how much it is to put Bay L or whatever like that on a fez. That's what don't mark your fez means. Don't mark your fez doesn't mean take your button and put it on the fez. That's not marking your fez. That's not marking your fez. Remember, we're active Moors that recognize that this is a birthright. This is not some, you have to go get permission. Right? You have to go get permission to go do something with regard to Moorish movement. Noble Juali said this is your Moorish movement. We read it in the letter that was supposed to be read every meeting, so you know that this is yours. That these guys didn't read. Why do you think they didn't read that? Because they want to be your slave master. And Noble Juali said it's your brother that's going to put you in slavery. And you don't get it yet? You don't realize that this is your birthright? You don't realize that just live by the principles of Noble Juali, what he laid down, right? Ain't nobody going to tell you anything about don't do that if you're doing stuff the way that it's supposed to be done. They can't do that because this is your movement. And like we said, on numerous occasions, the only reason that Noble Juali incorporated the Moorish Science Temple of America or the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, the only reason that it was incorporated was he was setting up a jurisdiction where the dirty Moors could be in and not have any jurisdiction over your birthright. Because this is the Moorish Divine and National Movement of the world. Moorish Science Temple of America is domestic. It's not international. The Moorish Divine and National Movement of the world is international. That's why there's Moors from Bermuda and all these places finding out about this and wanting to know how could they be Moors? How can they proclaim their nationality? Right? Trust me, when Moors like Rami Salam El, one of the humblest Moors that I know out there, when that Moor starts strangling people, you know that it's on. When that Moor starts going at people, you know that something's up. When sisters who never did nothing, they don't say nothing to nobody, they just sit in the back, study, whatever like that, when they're coming up and they're making websites and stuff like that, and they're taking books that Moors been had in their little library or whatever like that, and they're republishing those books and putting it out there to the public, all these books that Morris had in attic chambers and all that stuff, you know that it's on. You know that there's a shift happening. And the shift has happened, and all passive Moors, you better get on board with the studious active Moors, because they know room for, we already told people, if you're not active, you're dirty. Don't get mad if you get shimitar. Don't get mad. Just accept the shimitar because you called it on yourself. Right? Department of Justice. So we're gonna put it out there just so that people can be aware that we are known about. We are not some secret little in the corner, oh nobody, oh more science temple, oh he has a fez on, can't talk about it or whatever. That's not what this is about. This is a birthright that everybody knows about. That prior to 2009, you had to go fill out a Freedom of Information Act request with the FBI to get the Moorish Science Temple of America FBI papers. Active Moors who weren't punks, who had courage to go call the FBI. Don't worry about trace phones and stuff like that. They trace my call, I can't call the FBI. Active Moors who called FBI down. Who called FBI down, made them put that stuff online. And you know, since that was the first infiltration, remember that was the cornerstone, the chief cornerstone of King Alfred plan was the Moorish Science Temple of America. After that came everybody else. Oh yeah, don't forget Garvey too. Don't forget the UNIA was also a cornerstone of infiltration. Before any of these other groups were founded that they list up in here, you know, remember they said Pan-African movement. They couldn't say UNIA because, you know, Garvey and Noble Drew Ali were like this. You know, people are going to say whatever that they want to say. Garvey and Noble Drew Ali were like this. Trust me, they were like this. With further reference, oh yeah, this is on September 15th, 1931, right? 2 years after the Prophet passed, is when they started their little infiltration, but documenting it. They were infiltrating before that, obviously. But the documentation of the infiltration started in 31. And this is one of the letters from the Department of Justice, Federal Bureau of Investigations, before it was called Federal Bureau of Investigations, when it was just called Bureau of Investigations, just so you know that it wasn't always federal. Just so you know. It became federal. All right? 2, Director, Bureau of Investigations, Department of Justice, Washington, D.C., September 15th, 1931. With further reference to Blackout Bay and the Moorish Science Temple of America, there are attached hereto 2 articles entitled The Great Judgment is On, Who Shall Be Able to Stand, The Cause and the Cure, and The Creation and Fall of Man, which were furnished by Bay to Agent Blackout at the time he was being interviewed under pretext. There appears to be no doubt but what he is a fanatic. Agent Blackout advises that Bay wandered a great deal during the interview, and it was very difficult to obtain definite statements or information from him. The agent also places no reliance in Bay's statement to the effect that there are 32,000 members of the organization in this country, and believes this to be an arbitrary figure selected by Bay. Agent Blackout talked with reliable Negroes at Reading who characterized Bey as crazy and a fanatic, and stated that he was considered more or less of a joke and no one took him seriously, not even the Negroes. It appears that there probably is an organization among the Negroes known as the Moorish Science Temple of America, and that Bey, who regards himself as a prophet, has taken the movement up and has given it its own interpretation. In the absence of instructions, no further action is being taken by the Philadelphia office in this connection. Yours truly, Rhea Whitley, Acting Special Agent in Chicago. So go check her out. R-H-E-A Whitley. W-H-I-T-L-E-Y. That's the first letter. September 51. Now keep in mind, always keep in mind, that these so-called Moors that infiltrated and tried to subvert the Moorish movement did a very poor job. They did a very, very poor job. Because what their subversion actually did was get certain information out into the public. Because remember, Freedom of Information Act or whatever like that, and they can't pretend like, this isn't their stuff. Okay? So now we get to 1940 now. All right? We get to 1940. Right? Get to 1940. Synopsis of facts. So now they're federal now. Federal Bureau of Investigation. This case originated at New York City. Date when made, 4/8/40. Period for which made, 3/26/40. Subversive activities. Information received that Japanese Chamber of Commerce officials have on several occasions spoken before the Hartford, Connecticut chapter of the Moorish Science Temple of America, a Negro organization in the U.S. claiming over 8 million members. 8 million members. This is 1940. Who describe themselves as Moors and not Negroes. Series of 6 articles prepared for a Hartford newspaper about this Moorish organization obtained and forwarded to the Bureau. When's the last time you heard about 8 million members being in the Moorish Science Temple of America? And if there were 8 million members in the Moorish Science Temple of America in 1940, where did they all go to? Where the hell did they go to? How is it that 8 million members, don't forget we got, 50-cent dues times 8 million members, because this is 1940 he's talking about. So how many members were there during Noble Drew Ali's time if they're saying 8 million in 1940? And remember, the claim is these members describe themselves as Moors, not Negroes. They describe themselves as Moors, not Negroes. So in the 1940s, there were actually and factually people in the Moorish Divine and National Movement who had a position of knowing that they were not Negroes. Remember, this is before Black Panthers and all that crap. This is during the time, this is 10 years into Nation of Islam, which started out as Temple of Islam, which started out as Moorish Science Temple of America in Detroit. So we know now where all these people went. Because remember, we're talking about 8 million members. 8 million. The informant further advised that this organization was believed founded for the purpose of uplifting a lot of the poor Negroes in the United States. He stated further that the organization claims to have over 8 million members at the present time throughout the United States. Informant stated that the reason he thought this matter would be of interest to the Federal Bureau of Investigations was the fact that on several occasions, members of the Japanese Chamber of Commerce were reported to have spoken at meetings held by the Hartford chapter, and that therefore there was the possibility the Japanese government might be spreading propaganda at these meetings. Informant advised that he has a Negro informant who attends the meetings held and who has given him information about what transpired at the various meetings. He informed that this organization has not been very active recently, and the summer of 1939 was the last time that Japanese officials spoke at the Hartford meetings. He stated that in the event he receives further information about the activities of this organization, he will immediately notify the writer. Informant furnished the writer a photo of the cover of the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and also photos of 3 inside pages of this same book. In addition to this, the informant furnished the writer rough draft proofs of 6 short articles he had prepared for possible publication in a Hartford newspaper. Photostatic copies were made of the above material, and one set of these photostats are being forwarded to the Bureau, and another set is being retained in the New York file on this matter. The originals of the above were returned to the informant. No further investigation will be conducted on the matter by the New York Division unless the Bureau directs to the contrary. 2 copies of this report are being forwarded to the Chicago Division, inasmuch as main headquarters for the organization is given as Noble Drew Ali, founder, Moorish Science Temple of America, 930 North Townsend Street, Chicago, Illinois. Enclosures to the Bureau. Photostats of 4 pages taken from the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America and 6 rough draft articles dealing with this organization. Closed. So it's not even that these individuals, that infiltrated did their job. All they did was provide facts. All they did was provide facts to the legitimacy and the status of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And the fact that this so-called organization was meeting with Japanese officials or whatever like that and trying to, receive propaganda to get the so-called U.S. out the way, so when the Japanese take over, the Moors will have, a position when this is our own land. And if the Japanese are coming here now, how is it that the Japanese Chamber of Commerce is coming to talk at the Moorish Science Temple of America, but they're not looking at it like the authority is the Moorish Science Temple of America? They're looking at it like the Japanese are the authority. Why would the Japanese be the authority in America? Why would the Elks claim to have authority but call Noble Drew Ali to come teach at the Order of the Elks? If they got so much authority, why are they bringing the prophet to come teach? Remember, nobody called the Japanese to the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Japanese went there. Why? Because in Nobuju Ali's time, Japanese were members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. In Nobuju Ali's time, Japanese were members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Why? Because when you go read chapter 47 and divine origin and the jurisdiction of the Moors, you realize that everybody has a stake in this. That's why it's Moorish divine and national movement of the world. That's why the so-called infiltration was an attempted subversion, right? Subversion. Noun, Middle East, French, Latin, subversion, subversio, subversive, subvertir, the act of subverting, the state of being subverted, overthrow, a cause of overthrow or destruction. The only thing that gets overthrown is governments. You don't overthrow organizations. You don't overthrow organization. You overthrow governments. The U.S. been in trouble, which is why they had to create their so-called Liberia, which is why they had to help create Israel, which is why they had to try to help get so-called Negro, black, colored people to think that they came from somewhere else because this is their land and their government is here, not anywhere else. Which is why no nation in any other place of the planet is accepting of so-called Negro, black, colored people of the Americas to come back there and call it home. Nowhere. Nowhere. And once they get Negro, black, colored people to believe that they came from somewhere else, once they mentally disconnect from their Moroccan empire over here, then everybody is physically, not mentally, physically going to come over here, which is what's going on, which is what's been going on. And you hear now that China's talking about, you know, well, U.S., if you want to pay back our debt, sell us some states. Sell us states to pay back the debt. It's China's claim to the U.S. to pay back the debt. Why? Because they don't want no fiat dollars. They know that the treasury belongs to the IMF. And they do not want the position of Moors, Moorish American, Aboriginal indigenous people of the land to be known to these so-called people that are calling themselves and have their leaders calling them Negro, black, colored, African. Because as soon as you do that, as soon as you claim that, you cast yourself out of the constitutional fold of government, and now it's free reign for anybody who has a nationality. Remember, anybody who comes here has a nationality. And what do when they come here? Tag themselves with American, which means Aboriginal indigenous people. So Chinese American are Chinese Aboriginal indigenous people. Turkish American are Turkish Aboriginal indigenous people. That's why they can claim land, claim this, claim that, put up buildings in their own language and all that stuff. And Moors are sitting here on the curb talking about, you know, they're about to foreclose on my house. They're about to steal my car or whatever like that. Right? There's no treasury. There's no such thing as a treasury. Dirty Moors stole that and built mausoleums. Dirty Moors stole that and built mosques in Chicago. Big mosques. because they were members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and everybody around here, all these Christian ministers had nationality cards in their pocket, knowing that they got tax breaks if they have a status, using their little tax breaks to build up their crap, to try to subvert or overthrow the Moorish government, which can't be overthrown. You can't overthrow the government. Why? Because any competent thinking individual knows that government is not a building. Government is not an organization. Government is not somewhere where you go and you open a door and then, yeah, there's the government. Government is the people. And they can't get rid of all these people around here. It's impossible. Most they could do is get rid of their minds. Which is why Noble Drew Ali said, go back to the minds of your ancient foremothers and forefathers. Because when you go back to the mind of your ancient foremothers and forefathers, you realize that you're the government. You are the Moorish divine and national movement of the world. Yes, there are jurisdictions called Moorish Science Temple of America that weren't infiltrated. Yes, there are jurisdictions of Moorish Science Temple of America that exercise constitutional and civic-minded lessons and study. Those are the ones that you're supposed to get down with. Anything else is a fraud. Everything else is a fraud. There's no such thing as economic security. It's fiat everywhere. You can't have economic security with fiat. Noble Drew Ali said, I need finance, and I need it badly. He didn't say he needs fiat. He didn't say he wants credit. He said he needs finance. And finance is not fiat. Finance is not fiat. We request fiat now because, you know, that's what people got. But really and truly what we want is your energy. Really and truly what we want is you, our people, Moors, to claim their nationality. Why? Because when you claim your nationality, mountains of gold will be revealed to you. Why would mountains of gold be revealed to you? Because when you claim your nationality, you're tying yourself to the land, which is where gold, silver, platinum, all that other stuff comes from. You don't have to go claim houses. That's inept. Why don't you claim a house? Why don't you just claim the land and then everything on it belongs to you? Right? What did they do? They didn't claim. Remember, how do Europeans get power here? Land claims. Europeans weren't claiming other stuff. They made land claims. By making land claims, you have jurisdiction over everything that's on it. And then this is why they got issues now. Why Brother Amari is going to be going places. Last time he went, they're getting stopped, get pulled in the back and all that stuff, impeding people's right to travel. But then when they realize that, oh, you're really a Moor? Hold on, wait a minute. You mean you're really a Moor? You're not the pseudo-Moors? You're not the Moors that's making up fake flags and infiltrated Moors and Moors, you know, giving up information to FBI and all that? You're not those ones? You guys are the real ones? Yeah. Because everybody knows that the ancients will come back again. Everyone knows that the ancients will come back. And the ancients are here. Just like the ancients that, why we had class late today, because I'm an active Moor. And I had a program today with young people. Right? Young brothers, and there was a European in there. And this European is telling me about, I was watching, questions, so, you guys got questions or whatever? Yeah. You drew that thing on the board. I seen that thing on the board in Naruto. Oh yeah, it's cartoon on TV or whatever. They got Ankhs on there. They got Great Seal pyramids with the eye. All the stuff you draw on the board, they have in the cartoon. European. Talking about he's spoken word artist or whatever. And he's dropping stuff in spoken word. This is a European 16, 17 or whatever like that. Talking about Illuminati and all that stuff. And not from some pseudo black guy perspective about that's New World Order, devils and all that stuff. Talking about that's really the science. European, youth man. There's a couple brothers in there that were on it too. You know what I mean? Just so you don't have it twisted. But point is, ancients are returning in our own children and our friends' children, who's everybody's denying because they have pants off their ass or whatever, when they have more knowledge of self than half these Negroes out here claiming to know themselves. Youths. The time is right now, because you can't even hide it. It's just so obvious. It's just so obvious right now that it's the time of the Moors. It's not the time of anything else. It's the time of the Moors right now. Black time's over, Negro time's over, color time's over, African people time's over, Ethiopian time, Kemetic time, Hebrew time, all these guys' time's over. Because they've been had a chance to try prove themselves. And they can't prove themselves. Why? Because they don't have a nationality. Anything that they do fails. Everything that they've done fails and has failed. And none of them want to fess up to the fact that they're Moors. It's okay. We'll give it to the children and let them make you guys ride the mare of steel. Because these youths coming up now, they're not playing with people who've been playing with them and not telling them the truth. They're telling teachers F you and stuff like that because you're telling about Christopher Columbus or whatever. You're telling about Christopher Columbus when I know about Olmec heads and all that stuff. Youths I'm talking about. 16, 17, 18-year-olds. Like we told you about sister who, got her trip from Cambodia. Why? Because Moors. Negro black colored people didn't even pay her any mind. Moors came together and put about 600 notes into her trip to Cambodia. Moors did that. So this little sister could have an experience of a lifetime, go see herself in Cambodia on walls. Moors did that. Not Negro, black, colored, African conscious people or whatever. Moors. And you think this is some joke? Think this is unreal? Joe Ali told these Moors, you don't believe what I'm dropping? So go to those that know law, make them tell you. You think they're going to go? Nah, they're punks. But they're going to pose on Facebook with guns or whatever like that, and, you know what I mean? Get ready for the revolution, and we have to defend our communities or whatever like that. Somebody just got killed the other day by police. You're not defending nothing. You're posers. How about proclaiming your nationality? Stop playing around. Nobody Ali said don't even carry a pocket knife. You guys want to have gats and stuff like that. And you're not even using that. At least back in the day, you have a, razor blade under your tongue. You slice a guy's face or something like that. You guys not even doing nothing with what they got. Aboriginal and indigenous, native. In the Nation of Islam, go look at their FBI papers. We'll put some stuff out just so that, you know that it's actual factual. It's not hearsay, right? Remember, this is the FBI papers. This is the Federal Bureau of investigation on the Nation of Islam. This is what they know about the Nation of Islam. Forget what the Nation of Islam knows. This is what the FBI knows about the Nation of Islam. And people think that Moors Moors don't know what they're talking about or whatever. Background and origin. And keep in mind that they know that the Nation of Islam is not a nation, it's a fraud, right? And it's really the Muslim cult of Islam. They know. That's what they have in their papers. They don't call it Nation of Islam at all in there. They call it the MCI, the Muslim cult of Islam. During and immediately following the First World War, the Negroes in the southern states became extremely attracted to the northern industrial cities such as Detroit, Pittsburgh, and Chicago. They believed implicitly that the North, unlike the South, presented rare opportunities to improve the economic and cultural standards of the Negro. As a result of the prevalent illiteracy among these people and the large numbers of them who immigrated to the North, possibilities for employment diminished. The Depression in the late 1920s completely dispelled the rest of their hopes and reduced greatly their living standards. During these years, right, now remember that Noble Drew Ali is the one that caused the Great Depression. Remember that it's Noble Drew Ali that bankrupted the United States corporate government. Noble Drew Ali did that. Noble Drew Ali, the prophet of the Moorish divine and national movement. You want to talk about infiltration? The prophet of the Moorish divine and national movement is who bankrupted the United States and had them have to dissolve and become insolvent. And at that point, we were supposed to proclaim our nationality. At that point, everybody, the 40 million, like Garvey talked about, 40 million Asiatics or whatever like that, blah, unity amongst the whatever, were supposed to proclaim their nationality. And what they do? They had fake leaders, false prophets, come and tell the people that they're still black, they're still Negro, they're still colored. Don't worry, things are going to get better. You got melanin. We're the most struggling people on the planet. We could struggle forever, so don't worry about it. Let's just keep struggling so we can get through this. When they can claim their nationality, did like Black Wall Street, Africville, all these places, claim all this land around here and start building some stuff so we can have something now. That's ours. But they didn't want to do that. People were jealous of Noble Drew Ali's fame and nobility. That they didn't want him to get his props. They didn't want Noble Drew Ali to get his props. They were so jealous. Jealous to the point that they sold out their own people. Sold out their own people. Tell them that North America is wilderness and they're black Asiatics. They need to go back to where they came from. Or that name that you got is a slave name. Put X there. Have people talk about their 55X or whatever like that. But then, Farrakhan was an X, but he got rid of that. Cassius Clay didn't get Cassius X or nothing like that. He proclaimed his nationality. No? Why? How come he proclaimed his nationality? Because he was about to be the new spokesman of the Muslim cult of Islam that he found out later was a cult and left. And recognized that his biggest mistake was listening to Elijah Muhammad and these clowns tell him to diss El-Hajj. Go check the record. That's why he left. He left because he realized that they were a fraud and they pit him against El-Hajj to get El-Hajj out the way so he can be the new face of the quote-unquote Nation of Islam because he beat his case. Which is going to give them credibility because, you know, you beat being drafted and you belong to the Muslim sect of whatever, black Muslims. That's how they got all those people. And he left. Didn't even know that his name's Ali because of the Prophet. Thought there's some Muslim named Black Muslim now. Sold him out. During these years, many militant and cultist groups arose which reflected this intense desire for racial improvement and recognition, and which based the unenviable position of the Negro on the treatment afforded him by the white people. As each of these movements gained momentum, anti-Caucasian feelings became more pronounced until the pitch of unadulterated racial hatred was attained. 1. The Marcus Garvey movement. During 1914 in Jamaica, British West Indies, Marcus Garvey, a West Indian Negro, was imbued with the desire to collect his people from the four corners of the earth and return them to African soil where the Negro could have a government and a country of his own and establish himself in the eyes of the world as an African national. Remember, African is synonymous with Moor. Remember, Marcus Garvey studied under Deuce Muhammad Ali, who was a Sudanese Moor. Documented fact, he was called that, a Sudanese Moor. Garvey's success in the British West Indies was moderate, but moderateness did not satisfy his ambitions. So on March 23, 1916, he came to the United States where he established himself in Harlem section of New York City. Garvey, who was referred to as the Black Moses, described himself as the Messiah of the black people throughout the world and made many inflammatory attacks on the white race and the treatment it afforded the Negro. In July 1918, Garvey published a Constitution and Bylaws. Where did he get the idea of Constitution and Bylaws from? He just a Negro from the West Indies just decided to say, I'm going to start an organization and we're going to have a constitution and bylaws. Obviously, there was a pattern before that. Who was the pattern? The Jews, the Moorish Jews of Harlem, who were also down with Noble Ali. Because remember, the Moorish Jews of Harlem were the ones that wrote all the hymns for the UNIA. The band of the UNIA was the Moorish Jews of Harlem. So you can't tell me that Garvey didn't know about Moors. It's an impossibility that he didn't know about Moors when he had all these Moors around him that he was studying from. In 1920, Garvey dispatched a delegation of Negroes to Liberia to procure lands and other facilities for the purpose of resettling the American Negroes. However, the delegation was rejected by the Liberian government. Why are they rejecting them? If Liberia is a U.S. colony, how come Liberia rejected the so-called American Negroes? Because they didn't come from anywhere. They didn't come from some freaking country. Over there. They were born and raised right here in the North Gate, North America, Northwest Amexem. No home for them to go to that isn't here. They're already in their home. Garvey's decline, though brought about by the activities of competitors, actually began with his arrest for selling stock in violation of state laws. State laws. Isn't that a fraud? Isn't state laws a fraud? State laws are clearly a fraud. Because the state law is the constitution of the state. Any acts, ordinances, or statutes of the state are not law. So we already know that they, once again, go get the book, Plenipotentiaries, Noble Drew Ali. And in there we talk about the sellout agent that worked in the UNIA. Sold that out. So everybody was trying to get our people to be relieved of their connection to this land. The Moorish Science Temple of America. During Garvey's imprisonment, there appeared on Chicago street corners and vacant lots a Negro wearing a flaming red fez. This was Timothy Drew, who called himself Noble Drew Ali, and who brought to the Negro the information that he was not a Negro but a Moor. Act 6 of his Divine Constitution and Bylaws. Noble Drew Ali's Moorish Star and Crescent did not immediately draw many to his side, but it was not long before the wearers of the fez, finally convinced of their elevation to eminence, were looking down on their inferior white antagonists and hopefully adhering to the promises of Noble Drew Ali, who offered them pride of race and dignity. Upon the receipt of reports indicating that the prejudices of his followers were being expressed through violence, the Prophet issued strict instructions. We did not come to cause confusion. Our work is to uplift the nation. As in the case of Marcus Garvey, competition soon arose. The organization split into two warring sections. On March 15, 1929, the leader of the opposing faction was stabbed to death, for which crime Noble Drew Ali was imprisoned. Released on bond, Ali died soon after under very mysterious circumstances. So how come the FBI knows that Ali died after or died under very mysterious circumstances, but Moors in the Moorish Science Temple of America are saying Noble Drew Ali died of tuberculosis? How is the FBI saying that he died from very mysterious circumstances, but Moors in the temple are content with Noble Drew Ali's birth certificate saying that he died of tuberculosis? It's called attempted subversion of your Moorish Divine and National Movement. Yours. Don't worry about Europeans. Worry about your own, who's been selling you out. After these events, the group was unsuccessfully held together as a national organization. However, like the Garvey movement, it has never really reached oblivion. Many came forward through the years claiming to be the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, reincarnated, and through their efforts, Many branches of the Moorish Science Temple of America were organized and are active today. There have been several imitations. There have been several intimations that the Nation of Islam set forth below was an outgrowth of the Moorish Science Temple of America and was begun because of dissension within the temple. However, this factor does not appear in any of the related histories of the cult, right? Because they're not going to tell the people that they were part of the Moorish movement. They're going to have the people think that, you know, they got nothing to do with that, right? Another thing that we just want to quickly just put out there is throughout the FBI papers, there's making reference to an individual by the name of C. Kirkman Bey, Curtman. Not Kirkman, like we know that that's what it is, but Kirkman. Why? Again, to hide the fact of this sellout. And once you hide the fact of the individuals that exposed, they can parade around and prance around like, you know, they didn't do nothing. So people can follow them. And once they follow them, they get themselves under the jurisdiction of the subversives of this. And once you get in that, you pretty much hex yourself. No different than if you call yourself black, Negro, or colored. Because there's dirty Moors in this. And dirty Moors took the position of dissing the prophet, trying to get him out the way. Right? Few questions that we had that we gotta quickly deal with. Once one has corrected status, what are the ways of building wealth besides claiming abandoned land, buildings, and pursuing suits at law for just compensation of rights violations and non-taxation? The best way that we can build wealth is work for ourselves as Moors. The issue that we have with working for ourselves is that it costs finance to do that. All these dirty Moors robbed, and now we're here complaining about what are we going to do to build wealth. When Noble Drawley told the Moors that mountains of gold will be revealed to you once you proclaim your nationality. And Moors have to get out of the mentality that stuff's going to happen tomorrow. Walmart didn't just be Walmart. Walmart was Wilco before it was Walmart. And Wilco was around for years before it sold all their businesses to Walmart. So, you know, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen just because we think about it and we're going to manifest something tomorrow. Keep in mind that there are Moors who put down their nationality card and they go work. There are Moors who have trades. Because we're under occupation. You're not getting rid of the occupation. The occupation is here. They're chilling for right now. So do what you gotta do. You know what I mean? I say stay away from illegal activities because, you know, as we know, the Zodiac Constitution doesn't protect criminality. Right? So do something real for yourself. Myself, I got a job. I work. Why? Because I've been had stores and our people don't support anything of their own. And Europeans not gonna, I mean, yeah, they'll come buy some stuff, but they're not gonna support like how it's supposed to be supported because that's not their stuff. Why are they supporting that? They got their own stuff that they're gonna support. Like we say right now, we got temple right now. We got books and DVDs on the shelf that we got garbage bags of DVDs in the back. Why? Because we don't support our own stuff. That's just the fact of the matter. That's how mentally beat up we are. Now, we don't even support our own stuff. Right? So we say, hey, if you're not going to support so that Moors can live and have occupations of uplifting fallen humanity, fine. Support so at least the temple could be here and we'll get the information out to people and let them figure out their own stuff on their own. But you're not saving anybody who doesn't want to be saved. Right? With active nationalization, is there enough finance on the table where we could build something with it and create exponentially? Moorish clinics, farms, manufacturing, shipping, transportation, and so on. Bin had all that. We had all that stuff. We had manufacturing companies. Go check the records. There was Moorish candy factories in Camden. It's documented fact. You can just research it. Right? Everything that the so-called Nation of Islam is doing right now, the Moorish Science Temple of America was doing, and that was supposed to be perpetual. And what happened? You already know what happened. Right? You already know what happened. Right? There's no moving towards anything right now because everybody wants to move towards something when the job is uplifting fallen humanity. That's why we can't have nothing. The reason why Moors can't have anything because Moors wanna, get benefits from the birthright. And then you get benefits and it's only going to you as an individual. That's not nationhood. And then we can't have a nation if there's people out here that still call themselves Negro, black, colored people. Our job is uplifting fallen humanity. But that's not a job that you're going to get paid for, your salary for uplifting fallen humanity. Moors could push that and try that, whatever. But, Grand Sheik Nature got a moving company. That's his job outside of his temple activities. He doesn't get paid to work at the temple as a Grand Sheik. He has a moving company, his own moving company with his own trucks. And they move people. That's his job. There's something to start doing. Create a job. And they move everybody. They don't just move Moors. They move anybody who wants to move. They got rates. If you like their rates, they'll move you. Moors have to get out the mentality of, yeah, well, how's it for the Moors? And this is for the Moors. Because everybody's Moors, really and truly. So we should be getting everybody's fiat in some way, shape, or form if we have some type of business or whatever that we want to start up. Really and truly. Because we can't keep playing this game like, shit is good. Stuff's not good right now for Moors. Don't believe the hype. Right? Don't believe the hype. Okay? When correcting status to 7 to 9 departments, which is the correct UN office, location, department, CEO to send to? Is it the Supreme Court we mailed to near Washington, D.C.? The fact that the original 1800 is near Philadelphia more a matter of historical knowledge than actively involving them with our writs and notice of status correction. All that information is on the same place where you get the paperwork for status correction. The 7 people. And that might be extended because of how much or the lack of activity we've been doing as Moors. Because we've been so inactive, that 7 is probably 14 people, maybe 30 people. You have people like Fontes, they're talking about, faxing 100 people with your status correction proclamation, whatever. So everybody knows what's up. Not just 7, mailing to hundreds of people. Because we've dropped the ball. You know what I mean? Because Dirty Moors, the activities that they've done to subvert this, to overthrow our government, is why we need to be quadruple active right now. Because of the backward pedaling that these guys have been doing for 100 years. Because they've done nothing for the nation. They've taken the position of, yeah, I'm the authority or whatever like that, so I'm going to do whatever. Because of the backward pedaling they've done with that, Moors who are coming into this active, they better be super active. If you think Abdullah's active and Taj is active and Nature is active and whatever like that, you need to be quadruple their activity if you're going to say that we're active Moors today, 2015. Active Moors isn't just, oh yeah, I sent my paper, I have a right to travel card, whatever. That's not active no more. We are up the ante. Big time right now. Right? That's why I got 600 videos out there. Not doing that for me. I get some props, so yeah, you know what I mean? That doesn't bring me nobody calling me down to do lectures all over the place like Umar Johnson or whatever like that. I'm not living off this. This is my personal time. And, information's real. Put it out there, because I know that somebody out there is going to gravitate to this. Have to. Somebody out there has to gravitate to this. You know what I mean? Just in case y'all are, just in case, don't forget, +1 347-945-5899. Better get yourself in the queue because it's going to fill up in 2 minutes. Blog Talk Radio. 1-347-945-5899.
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio.
Make sure.
Please hold and you will be able to listen to the
Listen
show.
to blogtalkradio.com.
You are now in the
MHHS,
queue.
eyes wide open. And again, whatever questions that we didn't get to, we're going to deal with those next class. We want to say Islam, peace, love, and hotep to all the Moors, everywhere that you're at. International Moors, Moors that are continuing to study, keep studying. Moors that are active, let's get quadruple active on top of the activity that we're on right now. Don't forget rvbaypublications.com. Go get the book that Brother Mizraim L just dropped. And keep in mind, anytime you see these dirty Moors, hit them with truth because they need to get slapped a couple times. Because, what else are we going to do with them? We can't hang them from a bridge. Can't hang them from light poles or whatever like that. Because, learn to love instead of hate. But don't tolerate foolishness from people who are attempting to subvert your nationality and your birthrights. So we're going to close out with the prayer and get ready for Blog Talk Radio, which is coming up in about a minute. So we'll close out. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam. And don't forget, Rome must fall, and Rome will fall. Peace, love, and hotep. Hear y'all on Blog Talk Radio in a minute. Peace and love.